We'll just knock it out.
Yeah, we'll just knock it
Yeah.
out. All right.
Why don't you go ahead and start?
All right. You guys suck so bad.
And knock that puppy out.
Yeah.
Go ahead and knock that
All
puppy
right.
out.
Yeah.
Knock that puppy
Knock
out.
it out.
3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to year 2 of Server Restart In. This is
Season 2?
I don't know, season 2. Maybe, yeah, we could call it season 2, but
I
That's
guess.
like Magic Tavern. What was it called?
Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they did. Their season was like a whole year long.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
more than that.
Can we be like we're server restart in patch 2.0?
Sure, sure.
Patch 2.0.
Anyway.
Twice as good as the original.
Again, welcome back. This is year 2, starting year 2 of Server Restart In. It's a weekly World of Warcraft podcast where 3 opinionated players get together to discuss their thoughts about the current state of the game.
Sorry.
My name is Jim. I am joined by Kristen,
Hi.
if you couldn't tell, and Brian.
Hi.
And wow, has so much stuff happened since we last recorded. Our last recording was a what do you call it when you're trying something out and testing, like testing the waters or something. It was
Experimenting?
what?
Yeah, experimenting.
Yes, it was an experiment. We did a live recording of doing the dungeon run. It was pretty fun.
We would love to hear your thoughts on it too, by the way.
Yeah, anybody out there that wants to say something, just send us a tweet. Slide into
Well,
into them DMs.
I will.
I
will then.
would.
But so it was fun. So we trying something a little bit different. We may explore that again. There may or may not be recorded video evidence of that may or may not surface at some point in the future. So don't hold your breath, but maybe.
So
I don't
people
know.
can laugh at us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of information came out the day after we recorded that. Meaning the day that we normally record,
We would have had a
this
ton
information
of stuff to talk
dropped
about.
and we would have been able to talk about it
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
However, such as that was not the case.
Mm.
So we're just going to go ahead and talk about it now because actually a lot more stuff has happened. So first we're going to talk about some stuff that's been already hot fixed into the live version. One of the major first things that they've done, and we're not going to talk about everything because there's just some like minutia things like tweaking things that aren't really that important. First thing they did was they upped the anima cap from like 30K or 60K to 200K.
But wait,
We had a cap before.
wait. I bet. I mean, I've never hit it because I don't play, but
Me either.
they upped the anima cap, but God forbid they make it so you could just click it from your goddamn
okay,
inventory.
Stop. We're going to talk about. I'm going to explain what's out there, and then we'll come back and have a discussion. I just want to get it out there so
All right,
we kind of know what we're
circle
talking
back
about.
around to that.
Yes, there used to be an anima cap. It was like 60K or 50K or maybe even 40. I don't know. They've also changed the way the Shards of Domination gear works. So, no, it no longer requires a specific piece to activate a certain set. So, we'll talk about that too.
Wait,
So
but you still need to acquire all the shards.
You still need 3 shards, which is different than needing 3 shards and the specific piece that activates that kind of shards bonus.
Ugh.
So back. Let's circle back to the anima cap.
Or
No.
they could have just made tier gear.
Okay, they didn't make tier gear. They made this anyway.
We're making tier
Anima
gear.
cap. So yes, there
This
was.
is tier gear. It's just a different tier.
They're making tier gear, but it's the sub tier gear.
You have to tier your tier gear.
It's
Yeah,
the dry year tiers tier
Oh.
gear.
cry.
You're welcome.
Well, it's a step in the right direction because they
No,
even acknowledge that for the domination stuff, that even with rewards from the Great Vault and all that stuff, they thought that for some reason that RNGesus was going to bequeath upon people the pieces they needed,
Yeah.
and there are still people that just have not got the piece they needed. And you raise your hand, but you don't play enough to really.
I play every week.
We don't down enough of the same bosses that would potentially drop the
Yeah,
gear.
I don't.
And that's,
let me tell
that's
you,
how we raid.
that's another crappy thing. Is their vault gear? I don't know how that works, but I have gotten the same goddamn piece for weeks at a time.
Again, that's part of the problem, right? That's part of why this problem exists, right? If these tier gears, these socketed pieces, were more guaranteed for everybody, like you were guaranteed, like instead of making them, like we've talked about this too, instead of making them tied to a specific boss's loot table, they were on an overall loot
Yeah.
table. Because that was in the one with the Pantheon. What was that? Burning Throne? Weren't there some pieces of gear that just kind of could drop off of anybody? And stuff like that? And then there was like specific stuff. So like if there was that kind of
Did you
thing.
just call Antorus the Burning Throne?
No, now the like in classic had that with the dragons in Blackrock Mountain.
And Taurus is the Burning Throne.
Yeah, but I've never heard anybody refer to it as the Burning Throne.
I couldn't
instead
remember
of
the
just-
name of the raid. All I could remember was
I
Legion
always-
and then Burning Throne.
I always
So-
just referred to it as Antorus. I never that's why I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, was that the Antorus raid? Because I never referred
I
to.
couldn't think of Antorus.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to like throw
The
but-
Burning Throne.
the Burning Throne. So could I
The
just
toilet after a night of
can I
Taco
just
Bell.
say they're worried? You know, they thought RNG was gonna bequeath everybody, blah blah blah. Or you know what they could have done?
Made it buyable with tokens?
Yes.
But then
Yes!
if you don't get the right token, I mean
No, just make it every week. The boss drops, you know, blah blah blah.
There-
You get a set amount of tokens from doing a set amount of or a boss, you know, blah blah blah,
just give
and you
everybody the-
save up those tokens to get your best in slot item. Boom, done.
quit hitting the table.
Boom, done. I just fixed your game, Blizzard. You're welcome. Like,
Boom goes dynamite. Just start
Drop the
everybody
mic.
with the highest tier gear, and then require, right? If we're gonna gatekeep, just require each boss as you go forward in the raid to make sure there's a mandatory reduction in the average item level, so people have to take gear off or find lower level gear to grind
You
and
suck.
put on.
oh my god, that's terrible.
That is horrible.
Or
That's-
you're gonna do.
You
if you're
should
gonna do stupid
wait.
systems, why-
Yeah, wait. You
I don't want a job. I
you
don't
should
want a job.
apply at Blizzard because with that, they will definitely hire you
So
because
I'm
they're
pretty
going to
sure
be
the
like,
gatekeeper is doing a great job.
So okay,
Right?
okay. But in all reality, for whatever reason, they thought this was a good implementation of it. Whether it is or not, the fact that they've seen issues with it and they're working on making small corrections to make it more amenable and feasible, you know, without just completely redoing, because I don't know what rehauling it's going to do. You can't overhaul something halfway through when people have already got something, because now how does that change stuff for people that already have the
they
gear?
do that every season that they have with these stupid keystone things. Like, you always have to go and refarm it. So I don't understand that.
That's not the same thing. That's not in the middle of it. There's a definitive cutoff. When the next raid tier comes out, this stuff isn't gonna matter, potentially, and maybe at that point in the next raid tier, they're going to realize that, well, we thought it might have been a good idea. We thought people might have liked it. It didn't really pan out because there was too much whatever. So we're just going to kind of go back to either tokens or currency to either purchase gear or just straight tier gear drops.
Wait, this is Blizzard. Wait.
No.
Wait,
No,
you
no,
mean
no.
you mean people don't like RNG? What? What? Like that's Blizzard. I was operating under the assumption that people loved RNG.
If it is guaranteed, it takes some of the
No.
no, it takes some of the reward
No.
out of getting a good piece of gear.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It certainly does not, because it certainly doesn't in Final Fantasy. Like, you go in and you're like, you run a set amount of dungeons, and yes, it is gated. You can't get all of your best in slot gear in a week. You are constantly, it's a goal you are constantly working towards. And you get that piece and you're like, hallelujah, you feel good. And then you start working towards the next piece and then the next piece. And that feels good.
If
rewarding.
in WoW they were to time gate it as such to where you couldn't get all your gear, but you had to do it sequentially like that, you'd have a fucking riot.
I mean, they do that anyway with like their valor and upgrading your gear and
no. 'Cause
or
you
at
can
least
still-
they did at the
you can-
beginning.
you can still get, like in WoW, like let's say you had to clear the dungeon or the raid or whatever X amount of times before you could get a piece of gear, right? And then you had to do it again to get the next piece of gear, and then you had to do it again to get the next piece of gear. It doesn't fit into the timetable necessarily for.
It's not clearing the raid though that does that. It's like dungeons and stuff like that. It's you doing other things other than clearing the raid. You can get drop pieces from clearing the raid too, but also having a token system that you can fill in those pieces on either until you get your best in slot piece or it is your best in slot piece. You're making so you're like, yeah, when you finally get that piece, you're super excited. Well, yeah, you're super excited because for 6 months you got shit. And
Okay.
that feels like a really disproportionate, like, you felt
Right.
terrible for 6 months. And I'm talking about myself because my luck with RNG is very bad. And this is my anecdotal evidence from that. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that it. I don't think you should go, from 6 months to you kill the boss, you get the piece of gear. I think there still should be an element of chance to it, but a higher chance of getting that piece of gear, right? Because right now, like it should be like it was in Legion with bad luck protection, right? For your legendaries, right? Like the longer you went without getting a legendary, the higher chance of getting a legendary you
Sure.
did.
And then it was RNG, and you got a shit one. You got
Right.
What was the ring? Sephiroth, not
no.
Sephiroth.
Fucking
What was the ring?
Cephas.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking about having something like that though, so that like per boss, it just keeps an internal track of what pieces you've got from that boss, so that eventually after. If a boss drops 5 pieces of loot for you, eventually it's going to get to the point where you have them all, right? So, like, let's say you get 1 piece, right? And then the next week you kill that boss. The chance of getting that, at the beginning, you have a 20% chance of getting 1 of 5 pieces. Then, after you got a piece, the chance of getting that piece drops to like 15 or 10%, and the other ones kind of bump up a little bit. You know what I mean? So that way, you still have a slight chance of maybe getting the same piece again, but as time goes on, those chances get lower, and the other pieces get higher. I think that would reduce getting stuff. And same thing for the Great Vault, right? It's just like that's a bigger loot table, a bigger loot pool, because it's everything up to a certain point based on what you've cleared, but you shouldn't get the same damn thing 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
There should be some sort of better system for determining what the piece of gear is.
It just feels like that system that you just described is making it way more complicated, and if you just put in a token system, that would be it. And it wouldn't need to be a whole big convoluted thing. You
But
put
it's
in a
not
token
it's
system.
not that convoluted.
But it sounded it when you were explaining it.
That's because it's back end shit.
Right, but that's back end shit that people have to put in there and has to go be...
That's normal kind of shit you do when you fucking write stuff. That's normal. You may not like it, but I think that would be a good compromise, or at least a step in the right direction, and maybe add a token system on top of it, so that way, you can buy pieces of gear and save up for it, and then maybe while you're building up that currency to buy the piece of gear, you get the piece of gear you want, and you can actually use that stuff to a different piece of gear.
Yeah.
So maybe then you have a good week where...
Are you talking more so like Lich King patch 3 or whatever it was, where we like did the trial of stuff and you could buy the tier gear?
You could buy the tier gear with the token things that you got from there.
Trial of the Crusader?
Yeah. Trial of... Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? A system like that more so?
Yes, something like that, where you're getting the stuff and you can... I think, was it drops or was it actual tokens? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, badges. It was badges, wasn't it?
Was it
Remember
badges?
Badges used to have 2 tiers.
Yeah. It's been a really long time since I've run that raid, so I got all of the stuff from in there and never went back.
Because even if they put token drops in there, they're still going to put them behind an RNG wall.
That's
so
what
you're
I
not
mean.
going to be guaranteed.
Don't do that.
But
They don't have to. There's nothing that says you have to put that behind an RNG wall. Each boss drops 10 tokens, to get, a...
Yeah, well, he's talking about like a gear token. You're talking about like what a badge
Currency.
would have been.
I'm talking about currency. Yeah.
what Valor was.
The same. So that's really the same situation as the diminishing returns of legendaries in Legion. Reality is you just play, and then eventually over time you get to that point one way or another.
Right.
So,
well, I think with the currency
I won't
stuff,
lie. I liked the currency stuff in the beginning of Lich King, but then as it went on, and even in that one patch where you could buy the tier gear, like I started not liking it.
Well,
and I don't like if it was a mix of other things or not, but like,
well, they never upgraded it.
I didn't like. I don't like the fact that the whole thing about legendary gear that you shouldn't be able to rely on getting should be obviously RNG, right? It should be RNG because you can't plan to do it, right? And that's just the way it should be, because that's when it's like, oh, I got this piece of gear. What?
Right.
Like that's what things should be.
And that's great for people who have good luck. But then for the people who do not have good luck,
in that case, it's not something where you can just go back and try again over and over and over. It's just like, oh, a legendary just randomly drops from anything possible, but it's so fucking low that you just, you don't know if you'll ever get it or anybody else will. Maybe like something like that sounds like a system that fits fine for RNG. Something that's so predictable where you can plan around it, I don't think so.
Like that trinket that we saw one person get in Taurus. The trinket at the Yeah, we saw one person get it the entire time we were reading it.
And that should be something that is super rare.
And it was.
And
because we saw one person get it.
Right. And I think you guys are talking about, like, I think you, Brian, are like saying the legendary stuff kind of like nullified that feeling, because legendaries are supposed to be super rare. They're supposed to either.
That, and too, like, it still fell into the bullshit RNG that she's talking about, because it's still the same system. It's just wound out differently. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, all their systems are all gated systems.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
There's
There's just a way to make them gated to the point where they're just not obscenely,
But that's the thing, though, is that it can't go on forever. They're gonna have to do something to jump over the bullshit, because it's just, the dog and pony show is only fun so many times.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so, like, I'm off the hamster wheel right now, right? Like, I am not on that gear treadmill at all. I log in once a week. My damage shows it. But I am enjoying not being on that gear treadmill. Like, I wish that it was like that all the time. Like, that didn't matter. You know, I kind of wish what they would do is in any of those raids, they would just normalize everybody's gear, give everybody the same stats or whatever, and let them, you know, I mean, I know that's not an MMO, but you know what I mean? Let it be reliant on skill rather than gear.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
that's a thing too.
or
You know.
or skill rather than overpowered talents, like with the borrowed, you know, the borrowed power.
They should
thing.
probably make if they were to make raid instances more skill based and not more like damage based,
Yeah.
and then change gear to be, you know, an upgrade is an upgrade, but it's not that big of an upgrade, right? So that way, like, you know, like currently the difference between gear is between normal, heroic, and mythic is like 13 each step, right? 13 eye levels. Bump it down to like something like 5 to where, yeah, it's a nice little bonus, but it's not such a big bonus that you need the gear.
Right.
That you get to like max level gear or like max-ish level gear. And once you hit the normal or whatever it is, when the next couple tiers up are very minuscule power damage increase, right? And then you make the raids in such a way to where that, you know, you make them harder, and maybe you make them so that, you know, the eye level stuff doesn't make it overpowered, but maybe it reduces some stuff when in that instance. Like a heroic piece of gear maybe makes you a little bit more damage resistant in heroic, so you can bump the numbers, but getting a bunch of heroic gear doesn't overpower you for normal, right? Maybe something like that, to where if you're going to start doing heroic, you're going to get more and more gear that is heroic level. Your power is not going to go up that much, but maybe like your defenses and all that kind of stuff will make it so that the bosses do less damage, kind of thing. So that way your survivability goes up in a non-DPS heal tank oriented fashion, more so just kind of like an overall just kind of bump in power. And the more gear you get kind of negates it. So that's how you progress if you want to do the higher levels. But by doing higher levels or getting that, like, you know, from like a weekly or daily, or not a daily, but like the weekly quest, wherever you get like a 239 piece, it's not that much of an increase. You know what I mean? If you were to make the levels of gear not increase your power as much, and you just make it so that it makes it more survivable, I think that might be a viable alternative. You know, it reduces the reliance on higher level gear, and it just means that, yeah, now sure, obviously if you want to progress, you can't progress without farming and getting some more of that gear or whatnot, but you know, but that's, if you're going to do that, that's how you have to do it. And then that prevents people from just farming all that stuff and jumping straight into Mythic and just killing. And World First is no longer a 3-day long event. It's going to take some time because they're going to have to do multiple resets on it, because they're going to have to build that gear up to make it more viable, and that makes it more challenging. If you can do it with like a normal level, you know, gear or just heroic level gear kind of stuff, and do it in one reset, it's not that fucking hard. Like the fact that they can, like, you know, they put these extra mechanics and stuff in there, but if you can still do it with the only thing that's available at the time, which is heroic, and maybe a few pieces, like, because they kill this shit in one reset, and it's just like they haven't, you know what I mean? It's just like it's not that exciting. It's like, well, now they're gonna go kill it in 1 week, you know, and great, they did it, but it's just like, but if they have to actually like work at some of the lower levels and work up to it with something like that, that might make it more interesting. Now, sure, there might be a little bit of RNG to that, but I don't know.
Just make a queue for the raid, and RNG people entry into it. It's like LFR, but you'd never know when you'll get in.
Oh God.
Oh my god.
You mean so like LFR?
It's like LFR, but you never know when you'll get in. But it's for all difficulties.
Oh man.
You might get put in a mythic. And if you don't do it, they charge you twice your subscription.
All right. All right. Well,
wait, that sounds like another good idea. Oh man, Blizzard, you need to scoop this guy up.
Copyrighted. So that basically covers the current hotfixes that are out there. So we can jump in.
Wait,
What?
we didn't talk about
the anima cap.
Yeah.
So they raised it because and it was funny because I watched like a clip of some dude just clear his bags out because they were full of anima. And I mean,
it's stupid.
I don't know how often this guy plays or how often this person played. I mean, they must play every day and do everything to get every piece of anima. You know what I mean? To just like have their bags full of these anima things, because I've never done it. And I played quite a bit.
They probably just never turned it in.
Well, no, I think they had everything maxed, and they couldn't clear their bags out because it was all whatever. Regardless, they're raising it to 200K. And that is, I think, in anticipation of a change that's coming in the PTR where you will be able to send anima to alts. Which, to help, I guess, your alts unlock their covenant sanctums and all that stuff and whatnot. So,
Yay.
I mean, it's a thing. So we'll get into some more of the PTR stuff, or the patch 915, not 951. Apparently I don't know how to type today.
And they could have just made it so you didn't have to go back to, you could just click on it. And it would, just like we used to do with artifact power, because really, it is. What is it but artifact power?
Complaining for 1 second.
No, I can't.
So
I've already read it. I read it the other day, but yeah, you could tell her that right off the bat. That'll help a little bit.
No, it won't. She knows about it. So basically, what they're adding is you'll get there'll be a new quest in Korthia.
Oh, and you can turn it in Korthia.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't
she doesn't
help.
care.
That doesn't help. No, because I mean, really, if I don't go back to
you're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree.
Why am I gonna just let me click on it? Just let me click on it and turn it in. Boom, done. Like,
I mean, the thing with artifact power and Azerite power was that they went into items that were on you. So,
I mean, she's still got a good point.
I know. I'm not
so stupid. I mean, even the theory behind anima in general is so fucking stupid. Like, it's not like we know. Oh, you got to have this special container to store it, and the things you're getting they're special because I don't know why. Just turn it into currency on your character and be done.
Yes.
I mean,
it's not like we use the currency tab for anything.
You won't feel it when you get it from the world quest. Well, nobody's fucking doing the world quest.
You're
anymore.
right.
Shut up.
Right.
Your world quests are by far the worst ones ever.
Yeah.
So shut it.
Yeah, they're not engaging at all.
All right. So since we're talking about the 915 stuff, the PTR notes for
2 salt, 1 sugar.
Yeah. So we've already talked briefly about this. They're adding new customizations for the Nightborn, the Lightforged Draenei, and the Void Elves. They've already said that they're going to be working on High Mountain Torn next. So that's just not going to be in this one. Standard.
They said they were going to do undead
heritage armor.
Heritage armor.
Did they really?
No.
Oh. They need to get back on that. They need to finish that
care.
stuff. That's dumb. Like, everything has it, but like all the allied races have it. Why don't all the main races have it?
Good question, Jim. Good question.
That is a good question.
So, so they're doing that. The BFA Alliance or Allied races, On the Alliance side, all of them that required a dungeon, you get the quest and you can now talk to the person again and skip it, because trying to get a dungeon for that when you are over the level to queue for it sucks. And I know this because I had to unlock those allied races to make DKs. So you used to have to go dungeon quests and go into the fucking dungeon and do it, and you couldn't queue for them once you hit 50. So you had to like post in the group or whatever, and like, because you really couldn't go solo them either, because it was a pain. And like, even on a blood DK, I couldn't do it, and it was a pain in the ass. So they're doing that. They're adding weather effects back into Orgrimmar and Stormwind because people spend so much time there.
Are they really?
Yeah. I mean,
adding them in?
Yeah. They're adding it back into those cities. I don't know why they took them out.
Yep.
I don't remember when they took them out. Maybe Cataclysm?
I think they turned it off like last patch. And they're like, okay, we're turning weather back on. Put it in the patch notes. Flip.
I mean, maybe. This is a good thing that's coming in. So, currently, the way cooldowns reset in raids and at the start of Mythic Pluses is their 3-minute cooldowns. They're adding all the 2-minute cooldowns to those. So now, after a raid boss or when you start a Mythic Plus, all your 2-minute cooldowns will reset. So they're adding.
Wait, what?
All your 2-minute cooldowns are going to reset after a raid encounter, so a raid boss, or when you start a Mythic Plus. So do you remember how Demon Hunters used to pop their Met right before the timer went off so that it would reset?
Yes.
Well, now you can do that with a 2-minute cooldown as well and get like that first, whatever quick bonus of that. Like, I guess I could do Pillar of Frost or something like that now, and it would reset once
Only 2-minute cooldowns, though?
Down to 2-minute cooldowns, yes, from 3. So they're adding more stuff into that.
The reason I'm asking is because I have a 3-minute cooldown, not a 2-minute cooldown.
3 minutes were already on it.
Oh, they were?
Yes. That's where the threshold was 3 minutes.
Okay.
They're lowering
my minute and a half cooldowns will have to wait an extra 30 seconds probably after we eat and potion and all this stuff.
Right.
Gotta wait 30 fucking seconds for it to reset. It's garbage. They could just went to 1 minute or no minutes. Everything resets always.
Right.
Well, I mean, whatever. They're doing it. The only things not on there are Reincarnation for Shamans and Ritual Doom for Warlocks. I'm sure they have the reasons for that. So, AoE cap. Anything that had that was hard capped at 5 is being removed.
Good.
And some other ones. Some of the other ones that had 8 or whatever. Things that already had kind of like the soft cap where they had the fall off damage, that's not changing. Anything that's like,
I think they capped Bladestorm and Whirlwind.
They were at
this
8.
expansion.
It was
they weren't.
before. It was at the end. Coming into Shadowlands. Like, it's funny because I actually pulled up a list of all of those because I knew we were going to talk about that. Bladestorm had a target cap of 8, but they're removing that. So like Cleave and Ravager, and I think another one. Like anything that had like hard number caps those are getting removed. I don't know if they're adding them to like a soft cap where they have the fall off damage. Like Howling Blast had a square root fall off damage. So like it drops off for each one on there kind of thing. But like Frost Scythe only hit 5. So now it's gonna that cap is gonna be removed. So people are excited about that because that's going to allow for some of the older play styles of pulling it. And we're going to get back into those big pack pulls.
Oh, the ones that they wanted to get rid of that's why they took away all the
That's why they capped AoEs.
That's why they capped AoEs.
Yeah,
right.
and apparently they're realizing that people don't like that, so they're removing it. Now, granted, okay, they just implemented it at the beginning of Shadowlands, right? So we're only 1.5 patches in there. It's not like they waited a whole expansion to do it. I mean, we're seeing them responding to community feedback and actually responding to community feedback rather than just saying, no, we know what we're doing, right? This is kind of like, this is a shift that's kind of been coming. So it's it's good to see. I know it's easy to sit here and look at this stuff and go, oh, now they're doing it. Oh, now they're doing it. Well, now they're just trying to do it to whatever. But like it's, it's good to be to criticize it, but it's also good to understand that these are good steps that they're making. You know what I mean? This isn't just like, oh, well, they're just doing it to save.
It is.
I mean, there's
Of course it is, but I mean, obviously they are doing it to save face. So,
well, I mean,
people are welcome to get their to criticize them over it. Like,
yeah, I get it, and it's just like, but I mean,
at a certain point, they need to have a threshold where they stop making drastic changes in the wrong direction, and they need to be able to realize it before they get 1.5 patches in. That's just.
I mean, people told them at the beginning of the thing during beta that it was a shitty change and they hated it.
But hating something because it's not the way it was isn't. I don't think.
I mean, but stuff like this is pretty. I mean, it's fairly tells itself whenever like it's such a drastic gameplay change.
Yeah.
That it doesn't make it as fun anymore.
Right.
Right.
And
like you got to pick where you're trying to win at, because if you take something from the player base, especially in a situation like that where last expansion we had really fun borrowed powers at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually pretty fun. It changed a lot of gameplay aspects with the whole radius jumping out.
Oh
of
yeah,
all that
the tornado stuff for tanks.
Yeah, it
Oh,
added
man.
some really cool things that were a lot different than what it's been in the past. Okay, that was done. They took that away and then made drastic changes on top of it. Like, you got a gameplay gap there. Now you got to fix.
Yep.
And you could you trim off this much, and you're going to trim off more. Like, come on.
It might not have been a good decision, and maybe they're realizing it, and now they're doing better. So let's just hope that this is a trend that continues to where they're going to actually listen to feedback again, and before they implement changes, put stuff on the PTR, iterate over it, make changes, see how they play out, see what people say, and take that into account, and maybe not give people what they want, but maybe say, okay, well, we understand, so we're going to change this a little bit, whatever, So, moving on, there are a bunch of Covenant abilities that are being tuned and tweaked. Not going through all of them because there was like fucking 30 of them or some shit like that. I don't care. It is what it is. Druids are getting 4 new travel forms. Each of them are going to have 2 different colorations. So
you say 4 new travel forms, but all that means is they're going to get, so all the different, like, the trolls are going to have one. The Zendalari trolls are going to have one. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's the case.
No?
I don't know. There's nothing out about it. It's not on the PTR. That's coming a little bit later. But they said there's going to be 4 new travel forms for druids to get. They didn't say that all the... Because there's more than 4 druid races.
Well, there are, yeah.
So that wouldn't make sense. So no, there's 4 new forms. There's probably one for water, flight, travel, and carrier, maybe. And there's 2 colors each, so basically 8 new forms for that. And I guess one of the biggest things to come out of it so far is conduit energy is gone. They're just completely removing it.
Just letting you just completely...
You can swap your conduits
out.
out.
When you max your renown.
I don't think conduit energy is not tied to the renown.
Oh, that's Covenant Swamp.
Oh, that's right. That's
Covenant Swamp.
Swamp.
Sorry.
Covenant Swamp is the title of this episode.
Swamp.
So yeah, no. So they're removing that, which is I guess, pull the ripcord thing. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's partially part of it.
Partially, yeah.
So, and the other thing that kind of goes along with that is Covenant Swamp. Now I can't say swamp. Covenant Swamping. I'm Covenant there, Covenant Swamp. So some posts say a high renown. Other posts have said max renown. So I don't know what that's going to technically end up falling out. But once you've had a character hit, we'll just go with max because it's easy to say.
Yeah, I'm sure the Gator put it at max.
Yeah. The Gator down in the swamp?
The Master Gator.
Master Gator.
So when you hit it, you'll be able to swap covenants freely without any type of penalty. It says you'll be able to keep your cosmetics and stuff. I don't know if that includes mounts. It didn't. The text didn't say that, so that's something I want to follow up on, because that would be nice to be able to use the mounts outside of, like if you switch to a different covenant.
And then it just becomes do every covenant thing.
Well, yeah, and then you can go through the campaigns, and that applies to all your alts as well once you do it on one tune. So if you hit it on your main, all your alts can now switch without any penalties. They did some stuff to the Covenant campaigns. So once you've completed the Shadowlands and the Korthia Covenant campaigns, any alt will be able to receive renown from those campaigns through the other sources. So currently, like, how the catch-up mechanics were that you could do your callings and get renown from dungeons and whatnot, but you still had to do the story to get those renown levels. Now, those if you've already done that on another character, those renown levels you can just get from dungeons or callings or whatever. You don't have to actually do those stories. You can get the renown other ways. So you're not tied to doing that. Also, what else was it? If a new alt joins a covenant that's been completed, they'll automatically get the third soulbind. So you don't have to progress to get that third soulbind if that happens to be the best one for your class in that covenant. Okay. And then new covenant toys, yay, whatever. This is a good one. So you'll immediately have access to the Redeemed Souls Weekly. You won't have to have done quest up until a certain point to unlock that weekly quest. So, because I think it was tied to a renown level. Now it's just immediate. And in addition to that, they've added a repeatable quest for that, so that you can go out there and farm renowned souls as much as you want. Redeem souls. I'm sorry, as much as you want.
So you go farm them, turn it in, then go do it, go back and do it again.
Yeah, you could go. Because they're you use them to buy things. So if you need to build them up to purchase things from your covenant, you can do that. And I think you need them to unlock the sanctum parts too. So if you need to do that, now you have a way to just not have to wait weeks to do it.
Did they increase the cap on that? I know I've been capped out with that for a while.
That I don't know. It didn't say anything about that. I haven't.
They were 100. I think
it is 100.
They upped them to 100. Yeah,
it was 100, and it was nice when it was 100 because then, if you were maxed out, you could use that quest to get anima instead of redeem souls, and get that weekly done faster. So I think that's nice that you got just something you can do to farm if you want to. Legion time walking is coming. So they're adding Legion to the time walking stuff. Listed a bunch of dungeons. In addition to that, they're adding time walking keystones for Legion. So you'll be able to do keystones in Legion dungeons. So when Legion time walking comes out, it'll be out for 2 weeks in the beginning. I guess it is when all the other ones get added. They will have their own set of affixes, so they won't be tied to the Shadowland affixes. So it will probably be the Legion affixes on a cycle for that or whatever. The gear is the same reward level as regular Mythic Pluses, so there's that. Those Mythic Plus keystones will count towards your Great Vault. So as far as unlocking the rewards for that, however... the gear will be upgradable with Valor. However, it will not be something you can get out of the vault. Meaning, when you get your pieces of Mythic Plus loot from the vault. They'll just still be Shadowland stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that works, because we have Covenant abilities now, and I don't know if those necessarily get taken into account for the setups of those dungeons. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of meta plays out. You know what I mean? Like what kind of combinations and stuff work in there, especially with the affixes, whatever those are going to be. So it'll be interesting to see. They're adding legacy loot for BFA. So BFA is getting turned on to legacy loot, so you can go back and farm that stuff and just get all the drops instead of just the individual drops. So if you go do a raid by yourself, you get, 5 pieces of gear instead of just the single piece. So that'll be good. Solo queue for islands. They're adding that in. So now we can go back and finish farming our islands to get our stupid seagull mount.
Yay.
What else? Normal war fronts. It used to require 15 people to queue for it and to get in. Now it's only
Why
going to
would you need a war front?
if you want to go farm mounts or gear or something like that. I think you can.
Oh, they did have mounts. That's right. Yeah.
Well, no, I think the mounts were when you controlled it. Like you would go farm the rares. I don't know if there's anything in the actual war front, but there was stuff to do. But now you only need 5 people to do it instead of 15. So there's that. They're adding some stuff into Legion. So once you've had one character complete the Breaching the Tomb quest line, which is part of the stuff to unlock class mounts, any other character will now be able to start the class mount quest. They'll still have to do all the other stuff, but they won't have to complete the Breaching the Tomb achievement, which was a gate thing on it.
Right.
So that's nice. I mean, that's a way for people to not have to that's one less part of this stupid grind to do.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to link your transmogs now so that you can link the transmog in chat so that people can look at it and see what pieces you have on there. So if they want to get something like that, or they want a certain piece, you can link the transmog and it'll link the transmog piece, not necessarily your equipped piece, and then they can find it. So it'll help people share the wealth and knowledge of that kind of stuff. They're updating heirlooms to Shadowland stuff. You'll be able to use that. They're adding more heirloom maps for more flight paths for a bunch of other zones. So now you can buy those so you can unlock more flight paths instead of just Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. Let's see.
About time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, they've been busy, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was on a sticky note that got another sticky note put on top of it. And they didn't... Oh, God, we forgot to do this. Where have this been?
God, there's Legion. Oh, God, there's the other one and the other one and the other one.
In Korthia and the Maw, they're adding fast travel points from Venari's Refuge to Perdition Hold and Desmaterion. So I don't know exactly where in Perdition Hold it's going to take you to.
That should have been hotfixed.
Maybe. But they're doing that. And we already talked about the Anima dump point in Korthia. One of the big things they're doing is you'll be able to skip the intro quest to the Maw if you've already completed it.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Should have been able to do that from the beginning.
That is half an hour of time that everybody's going to...
They should have had that in last expansion.
Yeah.
They should have had it before Shadowlands released.
Yes.
That should have been in BFA.
I mean, to be fair, with if you want alts to go through it.
No, you're right. It should have been. That should have been something that, and I don't know if it was because of just the level of XP it put you at. It's like just give people that much XP or whatever for skipping it. It's fine. It's stupid. It's like we've seen it. This is another good one too. Legendary scrapping. You will be able to take legendary pieces to the rune carver and get back all of the ash and cinders that it took to make that piece. So the only thing you're out is the gold from buying the whatever piece. And it would have been nice if this was in when they introduced Soul Ash or Soul Cinders to like the new levels of stuff, so that we could have just especially with the introduction of the domination slots, right? Because I had to change a piece from one legendary piece to another, so that way I could equip a piece of gear with a domination slot in that slot. So it would have been nice to have got all that Soul Ash back, so I could just make it, just go buy the piece or whatever. Because at that point, the rank 4 stuff, because it would have been at that point replacing a rank 4. The rank 4 stuff would have been, I probably would have still been out a bunch of gold from when I bought the original piece, but that's better than having to spend.
Is there a huge jump to rank 5? I mean, I still haven't got to rank 5 yet.
Rank 6 is the highest, and that's like 260.
Right, but rank 5 is the next one above the previous patch.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was that was keeping me from it, but
well, it's the same amount of Soul Ash, so it's just like the Soul Ash is the same as a rank 4, like the 5,000 whatever. So that didn't change.
Oh,
because you had to get Soul Cinders, which was the new one,
right?
That you had to get from Torghast, from the higher levels of Torghast. So that you wouldn't have had. So that's the kind of stuff you have to farm to be able to build a higher level. But so they're doing that, which is good. For the Threads of Fate stuff, they're adding a daily Torghast quest for XP, so you'll be able to do Torghast and get XP and Soul Ash with a daily quest. So kind of break up the monotony. The bonus objectives for the zones while you're doing Threads of Fate are not going to take as long. They're tweaking those, and they'll also give renown, so you can build up your renown as you're doing those. And the zone objective is going to give higher level gear, so you won't be as far behind leveling an alt as you would previously. So that's good. They're making some changes to the group finder. It now will require an authenticator for putting something up with custom text. So that means that if you're going to put up a one of those ad accounts or whatever to advertise stuff, you're going to have to get the authenticator and authenticate the account before you can put in like the website titles and all that stuff. So not only will you have to be max level to put up stuff for max level content, you also have to have an authenticator to put anything custom in there. So that's kind of, I guess, to combat the advertisements. You can search for a numeric range, so you can do like 5 through 9 if you're looking for keystones in a certain range. It'll autofill based on your keystone when you're doing it. You can still customize it if you want to. You'll also be able to search for play styles now. You will be able to post a group with a play style. So you can probably put like hardcore, casual, that kind of stuff to kind of indicate, hey, this group is this or this group is that, so people can now look at that stuff and not apply to something that maybe doesn't fit their play style. Whether or not that's going to work, I don't know. But it'll be a nice little bit more of information there. They're making updates to their reporting system. So now if you do make a report and action is taken, you will be notified. I guess there's been a lot of instances where people report stuff and just don't get any feedback on it at all. And they're making the your favorite mounts summon thing will, if it's an empty list, we'll just select a random mount from all your mounts, which I think is nice. So now you don't have to put everything in there. And they're also adding a filter in your mounts thing for flying, so you can just filter out ground mounts and just look for just flying. But whatever. Yeah, is what it is. And there's one last thing, I think, and this isn't necessarily in the patch. This is kind of something there is some Twitter thread stuff going on, and it's kind of revolves around the cross-faction play. And I think it initially started with the fact that people were talking about the reason that they let covenant swapping go to no issues and all that stuff, and people were making like comments about how like, oh well, I guess just because the lore now allows it because everybody's working together, kind of thing. It's not as striking or whatever. And like Ian got on and said some stuff about it, about how driving gameplay based on lore shouldn't be the only reason for keeping in bad mechanics. And basically he said that currently there is more that's driving the faction divide than just lore right now. It's like there's other things that are still causing it to exist. But he said there's no quick solution here, but especially when it comes to equal access to endgame systems like M+ and rating, that barrier is a major issue that we know we need to address. So we had, he kind of alluded to the possibility of cross-faction play at the BlizzCon line stuff. We all heard it, and it's like, well, he didn't flat out say no, which they had done before, right? He basically said, basically alluded to it was a possibility. And again, he said, there is really no necessarily narrative. It's not solely a narrative decision at this point in time, because if it was a narrative driven, like the only reason there's a faction divide is story. Obviously, we're past that again because BFA is over, kind of, and so. But that's not the only reason, but he's acknowledged that it is an issue, and they know they need to address it, so they're working on it. So, which we don't know when potentially we'll see cross-faction play, but it is something that they are looking at, which is good, right? I know Kristen has, for sure,
expressed an interest in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that it could help, just bolster stuff. You won't have to have as many server merges, that kind of thing. I don't know. And that's pretty much kind of everything in a nutshell, and that was quite a mouthful. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anything you guys want to talk about in depth more? Other than what we already did?
I mean, I feel like I already hit all the points that I needed to.
Okay.
Blizzard sucks.
Oh, man.
Shadowlands sucks.
Shadowlands sucks. I know.
I hate negative Nancy's.
I know. I'm not trying to be. It's just.
I feel like it's easy.
I am.
Shadowlands
sucks.
I feel like it's easy to just be like, nope, it sucks.
No,
they
it's
suck.
not. It's not. I tried really hard. I tried really hard, and I have not canceled my subscription yet. It's just, it is not easy to log back in right now.
No, it's not.
It really is not.
Oh,
right?
no.
And the
I get that. Because I don't log in that much either. And it's just like, maybe this is going to make things more engaging, but it's not like this. There's so much coming into this 9.15 patch, but it's still not necessarily playable content for a main character, right? It's opening the door for alts for sure, right? It's going to make playing alts a lot easier.
That's what makes me think maybe like, okay, well, certainly we can expect 9.2, whatever that is. Yeah, it's probably beginning of next year at the earliest. There's just no way it's going to be any sooner than that. That would put it at like what, a 6-month mark again?
Yeah.
The end of January would be 6 months. So,
I mean,
or no, we did 7 months. I don't remember.
We did 7 months for the last one before we got 9.1.
So we're probably looking January or February. And honestly, with all the stuff that's been going on, I mean, this makes sense that they're trying to buffer up some stuff for us so that they can, one, show us that they're trying hard, And honestly, all the people that whined and complained and left because of all the things going on, for whatever reason that drove them to do it, other than the people that had legit reasons to do it, right?
Right.
They're going to try to be winning these people back because that's in their best interest. So
Well,
it makes sense, and I'm glad they're doing it. And we could totally expect, like, there's got to be stuff like this to get us to the next patch,
yeah.
or else it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
So,
I hope that this isn't just some sort of appeasement scheme and they go back to what it is. I hope that it is an appeasement scheme because they realize how much they fucked up, and that
and they
that
could build on it. It's a good amount of stuff to show, like, hey, we're looking at this beyond Shadowlands, right? We're looking at what all you're doing as a player when you play the game across all your characters, and this is going to make life a little bit better. That does feel good.
Yeah.
'Cause now you got more of a, oh my god, they're listening perspective.
yeah. I hope they keep it up. I hope they keep it up. I would really
And
hate to see
if they keep doing it, they're going to win back that tighter feedback loop system that such as like an indie developer might have, or they probably had in the past, but they lost it down the road. So,
Well,
we'll
I
get
mean,
there,
you
hopefully.
lose that kind of stuff when you get, I don't know, too big for your britches, or you have, you're beholden to other people, right? You know what I mean? It's like when you're just doing this and you're just beholden to the fans because they're the people that are, keeping you afloat versus the stakeholders of the company or the parent company and all that stuff. There becomes a dynamic of, okay, well, now we have to appease these guys, so now we kind of have to, tailor things so that way we meet certain things so they're happy. But nobody wins when you lose all your players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's good to see that they've looked at things, and it seems that they are addressing things. Is it too little, too late? I don't know.
The problem I have with that is a cycle. That is the cycle. They do this every expansion. They did it with Legion with the legendaries. And they got feedback. They got feedback on the stuff. And they ignored it and went ahead anyway. And what did they do at the end of the thing? They fixed it. That's what they do. They same thing in BFA with the stupid corrupted stuff. That was towards the end, but again, I'm sure there were other things that they meant to do. But again, it was introduced. They got feedback on it. And then they just waited and waited. And they're doing the same thing. They're repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, rather than saying, oh, hey, look, people have given us their reasons for why they don't like this change. There are a lot of theory crafters out there who put a lot of numbers out there, and they don't listen to them, it seems like.
The problem with that is that theory crafters are min-maxers, and the majority of the players aren't min-maxers. So you have to understand that just because the loudest voice saying stuff doesn't necessarily make it right. And that's a mindset that a lot of people probably have. It's like, well, just because these people are loud and saying this stuff doesn't necessarily make it right for everybody. So it just, it's easy to get to that point where you hear all this stuff and you're just like, it's the same people saying this stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that they represent the majority of the player base and all that stuff. And now they're seeing that, some of this stuff is representative of a majority, and they're looking at that. So I don't know.
So the problem I have with that, the majority is, is the meta exists. And it wouldn't, so people are looking to those people, and those people create the meta, those theory crafters, right? So, I mean, you can be like, well, the majority of people, but look at the meta. The meta exists because the majority of those people are following it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a meta. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. That doesn't. I don't. I mean, I look and see what's kind of does the best or whatever, but I really fit things to my
Sure.
style, and so I feel like a lot of people do that. I don't think that.
Well, then why did they add Raider.io into the game? You know what I mean? Like, there must have been a significant portion of the player base that was using Raider.io, you know what I mean, for them to say, oh, hey, now we're going to add it into the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool that you don't do that. You do your own thing. You have fun and play it your own way. And that's awesome because you're having fun doing that. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people who do that, and that is like the proof of that is the meta existing. You know what I mean?
Okay. I mean, I don't necessarily think that, but hey,
Right. Okay.
we're entitled to our own opinion.
Jim, opinions are like buttholes.
I was
Yes.
just gonna say that.
Yes.
Everybody has one, and they're all cute.
They're all cute.
All right, that's a good place to end. Thanks everybody for
Everybody.
listening. You can check us out at facebook.com/server restart in. Shoot us a tweet at server_restart. And get ready for a wild year 2. See you guys.
Wild year
Bye.
too. Bye.